Yeah, Punden, you want to ask something?
Actually, I just wanted to know, means, can we extend the deadline for week 6 graded assignment, because it's 4 days from now, right? And
Yeah.
we were preparing for examinations. So I was not able to study. I don't know about others, but I was not able to study a single thing. Today I watched the first lecture and I'm finding it hard to understand the insertion sort. Will take a little bit of time. So is it possible?
Okay, see, so deadline extension is something that actually we don't do for single courses. It has to be done in batches, of course. So, okay, so I cannot say you like this. Let me just check whether anything of that sort is possible or not. If that is possible, maybe we would inform you with an announcement. Otherwise, as of
Okay.
now, you can think it would not be extended, but if it is extended, you would be notified.
Okay, so means I think that today is week 6. We are going to do week 6, right?
Yeah, today is week 6 solve with us session, so we will solve some problems. Yeah, but if you
Okay,
have
so means I
anything
haven't
out on the
watched the
insertion sort,
lectures even.
I can discuss that. No
Not
problem.
all lectures. I haven't watched all the lectures, so
No
will I
problem.
be able to?
We will do from scratch. Yeah, no problem. I hope it should not
Okay,
be a
okay.
problem.
Then no problem. Then no problem.
Fine. And if you have any doubt regarding insertion sort also, that also maybe I can discuss insertion sort once. Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
Basically, I was having just a small doubt in the pseudocode that sir was explaining. He took some means variable x is equal to 5 and g was an iterator. But instead of taking the values of in means instead of taking the values in g, he took the values in x. So why he did it?
Instead, acha, wait. So let me just complete this session today, right? I mean the solve with us session, and when I come back to the discussion of week 6 doubts, maybe then you can ask me. Fine.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Just a second. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay, so I would like to at first ask, can some of you volunteer and say that what we have learned till week 5? I mean, basic things and overview kind of thing. Can someone tell me?
Sir, we have looked at means what are variables, what are the different data types, what is sanity of data, how our data set is structured. Also, we have looked at different data types and what are the operations that are that we can perform. What are derived data types and what are normal data types, means base data types. Derived data types are from base data types, so that is one thing. Also, we looked at different algorithms for finding max, minimum, average, finding the pairs. We looked at procedures and we looked at these means that class interval that we created. That's all I think that we have done. Sorry if I have made.
Okay, fine. So we have learned all these things, and have we learned about any particular kind of way to store data? I mean, do we know about what are list or something like
No,
that?
sir. No.
It was in week 5. If
Week
we are
5,
taking
yeah.
it from week 5, then yes, week 5 have
Yeah,
Yes, sir. It
I'm
is
considering
list
week
and
five.
different type of the means functions that we can perform on list along with their pseudocodes.
Exactly. I'm considering week 5 because this is week 6 session, right? So I'm considering that you all know week 5. Uh, Maybe not in detail because that's not in your exam, but at least what is there. So you know about that in week 5, we learned a little bit about the another way to store data structure, which is your list. And now in week 6 we will about list whose each element is itself a list. And then we would do some algorithms, like as I said, done some sorting algorithms and other things, some hypothesis testing with a given data. So anyways, we will do all those things. So if I go to week 6, just a second, you see the lecture starts with a topic called list of lists. So a list, what is a list, by the way? Can someone tell just definition?
Collection of values in which some data can have same data type or different data type.
So it's a collection of values where we store the different types of data.
Different
Right?
types of
Okay.
data.
Correct. Now, the concept is if we learned about in the initial weeks, we learned about data types. Whenever we learned, we also saw that, let's say, I have, let me take one example, say shopping bills. Okay, so I have a shopping bills entity. Right? And inside shopping bills, let's say I have a shop name as one field, right? And it has some shop name which is basically of type, this variable is basically of type a string, right? Okay, fine. Then we also had, let's say, amount. Since it's a bill, let's say I have an amount, right? Amount would be some value and that would be a number or integer. Let's say I'm considering integer as of now, not going into fractional value. Right? So let's say there are multiple such fields and maybe we have different kind of data types. Okay, so maybe yeah, so in many stores you see that now they give plastic bags and they would ask you if you want to take it, then you have to pay some charges, and otherwise you would not have to pay such charges. So let's say you have a Boolean data type called plastic bag or carry bag, whatever, right? And it's a Boolean field which can be true or false, that you took a bag or not. So all these are data types, right? All these all of these three are separate fields, separate variables, and all of them are of separate data types. But along with that, the shopping bill whole thing, it itself is a kind of data type. It was because why it is a data type? Because when I have a collection of these three fields, right, then this is becoming a shopping bill. And when I have a collection of shopping bills, then itself a shopping bill is representing a type of data or a collection of a specific type, right? So let's say now I have collection of orders. Okay, let's say there are some orders. Let's say there are some, I mean, you would learn about the data set trains in this week 6, right? Let's say we have these trains, and then let's say we have shopping bills. So I give you a mixed bag of all these types of data. Fine. In that case, shopping bills, the whole thing itself represent a type, right? And each of these entity inside the shopping bills also represent a specific atomic type, data type. So in computer science, whenever we learn, we would actually get into this practice of incorporating and this is what we call encapsulation, but don't worry with the terms. So we would actually incorporate the fields together, and then we would say this itself is a broader type. Fine. So when we have learned about list, why I said this thing is when we have learned about list is a way to store your different types of data, right? Now, then I say, okay, list is a method to store data. I mean, it's a place where you can store data. Now, why can't I store list? I mean, why can't I have the data itself as a list? So that's what we call list of lists, right? So with that notion, our this week starts. Okay, and I'm assuming most of you would not have seen the lectures completely. So I'm not going into the each detail of that. And I would continue today's solve with the session. In between, wherever you have doubt regarding any content, right, anything you are not understanding, in the very basic level also, please go ahead and ask. Because those things would also help you to write pseudocode for the examination. I mean, not write, I mean to check the correct pseudocode. So please ask questions wherever you get confusion. Okay, and if you have any doubt in week 6 also, that is also fine. You can ask. Yeah, Puneet.
Sir, can we say that shopping bills is also a list type of data?
No, see, shopping bills, we are not, I mean, let's say, when we were learning in the first initial weeks, right, these data types, we did
Hmm.
not say anything specific about how we are storing the data. We only said that shopping bills has these fields, and since shopping bills represent a specific kind of data, and when I have a mixed bag of other kind of data like order, trains, or whatever, then shopping bill itself is a data type. So that is a type, right? But we did not tell you that how each of the part of shopping bills, or let's say how each bills, right? How each of the bill of the shopping bill is stored. We have not told you that. We initially you stored that in a table, correct? You remember the tables, right? We have been working
Yes,
with the
yes.
tables all along. Now from week 6, you would see as soon as we come in, not only week 6, in week 5 also you would have seen that if you go through the lectures, that as soon as we get the list, we get a tool to store the data. Till now,
Yes.
we have been storing the data in a table and all our pseudocode were working on the table itself. Now we would not go into that funny business, but once we learn about the list, right, and once we learn about dictionaries, that would come, I mean, you will also learn about that. So once we come into this dictionary and list and all these things, then we get actually a very good way to store the data. And we are not going into
But
that
sir,
tables.
why can't we do it?
Huh?
Means suppose let's say shopping bills has three
You
category,
can
right?
do it.
SB
You
Zoo,
can do
Sun
it.
General, and
Correct, correct.
Big
You
Bazaar.
can do it.
We
What
can
I'm saying
store the
is,
data, right?
yeah, you
Hmm?
can do it. What I'm saying is, it was not discussed in that context, but you can obviously implement it. Okay, you can implement it as a list of the items that it holds, and then you can again have the shopping bill, each card of the shopping bill implemented in a list of list manner.
Yes,
So
yes.
the broader point that I want to make over here is you can also implement it in another way, right? You have not learned about
Hmm.
those things, but you would learn it. So what I mean is shopping bills, order, trains, all these are an abstract concept. They are not represented exactly in the form of data. I mean, we are storing it in a table and then working on that. But as soon as we get these tools like list, like dictionary and all those things, then we get a
Hmm.
tool to actually represent that data. Now, shopping bills can be represented as a list of lists. It can be represented as a dictionary. It can be represented as a dictionary of dictionary. All those things we would learn. Getting the point. So that is a physical
Okay,
implementation of
so
how you represent the data.
right now I can't assume that shopping list is a list of list. Shopping bills data is a list of list. I can't assume that for now.
If it is given in the question in that manner, then you can assume. I mean, that would be
Okay.
communicated with you in the question. Okay. As
Okay,
of
okay,
now,
sir.
just think that shopping bills is like you have learned, right? It's a collection of cards or rows, whatever you want to say,
Yes.
and you are fetching each of them to do some task in the pseudocode.
Yes. Okay, sir.
Okay. So let me. In general, let me ask this question: which part, since your exams are coming, so which part you all are facing more difficulty to understand? And don't say just pseudocode because pseudocode is a, I mean, broader answer. Is there any specific thing, or generally you all are feeling difficulty in pseudocode?
Good evening, sir. Yeah, if
Yeah.
from the exam, the last two questions, which were about athletes winning medals, if you could clarify that, like when convenient for you, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. So exam means
From the qualifier exam.
okay. So I don't think I can do that now
Okay, not a problem then.
because I don't have that paper and readily available now. I have to find that. So let me just complete today's session. In the meantime, if I get time to find it, and then I would check it, right? Or else you can ask on forum. Okay. Please ask on forum. I think we would answer. Have you
Okay.
asked on the forum about it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then we would answer. If you have asked on the forum, someone would reply. If I get time, I would also discuss that after discussing this content. Fine. So, so let me also, at first moving into that, then let me discuss the insertion sort thing which you are asking. By the way, are you all clear with the concept of binning?
What, sir?
Binning, B-I-N-N-I-N-G, binning.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And a list of pairs and all those things, you know, right? I'm just checking whether, because
Sir, this question is related to directory, and we are not aware of that. I mean, the course-wise.
yeah, I'm not discussing that now. I'm just asking, are you aware of the tuples and all those things, list of tuples and all those concepts?
No, sir. Tuple we don't know as of yet.
Okay, just
Well, it's not defined till now, but a list of lists has in matrix is certain. List of pairs we know.
Tuples, you know, right? You all have learned in this. Let me just tell you in which week. Basic list operation, list of pairs, list of triples. You know these things, okay? In week 5
In
you have
code,
learned.
Oh, triplets
If
and
there is
doubles,
one
list
thing
of
like
that,
tuple
right?
thing, if that is tuple, then we are, yes, we know that.
List of pairs, right?
Mm.
So I'm just
Yes.
saying like this kind of structure. So if we
Yes.
have
Sequence number and related to the number.
Tuple was defined as a record. In record, it was written a record or tuple or structure. Yes, sir. We know about tuples.
sorry, I couldn't hear you properly. Can you repeat?
So when we were studying about the structure, this is records, then it was mentioned that it is a record or tuple or a structure.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So let's say if you have, you all know about list. So list is something. Just a second. So let's say this is a list, and you have some items over here, right? Whatever items. I mean, some items, right? Now, if I have now, what is a? I mean, a tuple. A tuple. I mean, you can have a pair. So let's go with pairs. Now, what is a pair? A pair is something like this. Let's say A and B. Okay. Now, if I store this as the value A comma B, and let's say then C comma D, whatever. Dot dot dot. So I'm just asking. This should be clear, right? You all know
Yes,
about.
yes, we know this.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, we know.
Yeah.
It
Even
was
if I add C,
explained
then
in
you
week
know.
5.
That's triples, right? If you have 3 elements, correct?
We can even
So
have more than that.
you can even have more than that, and in that case, we call it tuple. So let's say if I have some general number.
That's how I was saying that means we can store the shopping bills data.
Yeah. I also said that you can store it in any possible way. You can store it like this also, a list of list. So let's say your shopping bills, each field, let's say field 1, field 2, field 3 is there. Okay. Like that, and let's say each of these, so this is, let's say, shopping bills card number 1, shopping bills card number 2, field 1, field 2, like that, field 3.
But here we have to do nested iteration, right? Because
Nested
first
iteration, correct.
we will do the outer and then we will go inside each list.
Exactly, you
element
would
of
do
each
something
list.
like this. So for each, let's say, this is bills, right? So let me call for each bills in, let's say this nested list is, let's say we call it, what do
L.
we call it? L, okay, fine. In L, right? And then you do another for, and each of this is, let's
Can
say,
you quickly explain the concept of init and rest? Because first and last I understood, but init and rest, basically the init part. The pseudocode I didn't understood. So can you do it the same one on this L list that we have just created, SP1, SP2, just to understand it on a broader level?
Okay, okay.
Look, sir, can I explain that
Ah,
this
yeah, yeah,
point?
okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, init is something like that. You are taking a list and just removing the last. You are not considering the last element. And when you are writing list last, it means just we are not considering the first element. We are considering all the rest of the elements of the list.
Really sorry to interrupt, sir. I just want to ask that will the session be recorded?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
session is recorded, right?
Like I can
Yeah,
see this on
another
YouTube,
thing,
right?
another thing, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to ask, are you going to be discussing the quiz, yesterday's quiz? Like I was facing few doubts, errors in the question actually.
Errors in the question?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, no. So we did not plan that, but was it being told to you that the quiz would be discussed or something like that?
So the thing,
Actually, no,
it
like,
was mentioned in the paper that if you have any doubt, just post it on this forum, and they will
Forum.
address to that. But for
Exactly.
now, we don't know that when the results or the quiz answers will be released.
I just wanted a second opinion about it because whether the majority of the peers also agree with me on it. I just wanted like just that.
Okay, so okay, if you have anything in general, you can ask, but
Yeah, just in general, just wanted a opinion on it, whether I am thinking in the right direction or just
yeah,
simple.
yeah, I think you can ask them. Okay.
Okay, okay, okay.
Your screen is not visible.
Oh yeah, there is some malfunction. Wait, just a second. Okay, so anyway, don't feel if you are not. So can before going to that, can I just check that how many of you have gone through week 6 content, the full thing? I mean, at least the pseudocode of insertion, sort, and all those things. Otherwise, what I feel is I would discuss them.
Yes, sir.
Only about sorting.
Okay.
I have only one, not the rest.
Well, I don't think many people would have the time to go through the whole of week 6's content, considering that the exam just got over. And well, that certainly applies to me.
Fine.
Yeah,
So
so just yesterday was a quiz, so we will be studying from today onward because fifth week itself was not in the quiz, but we have to do that also.
fine, got it. So okay, so one of you was asking about the general view, right, regarding one question. So you can ask that at first. Then after that, I would start again.
Can we ask right now?
Yeah, I mean, if you have to, I need to know that what kind of doubt is it. If it is very specific, then that would not be possible to address over here, right? So I would request you to put it on the forum, and that would be answered.
Okay, because like, are you having access to the questions which came in yesterday's quiz?
Yeah, no, not in that form. Can you ask it? Let me just check. I will tell you if you can, if I can answer now, or if you have to post it on the forum.
Yeah, yeah. Please, like, it was like this one question where like it was I felt that it was a bit wrong and it's
Okay,
an
which one?
error.
Okay, can you tell me which one?
See, like normally the questions are like arranged in a random order, no?
Yeah, I mean, you have to just tell me the. I mean,
Yeah, I will just
What
tell
was the
you.
subject matter?
Yeah, I will just tell you the bare bones of it. Like, I just wrote it on my hand out of the center, so also don't remember it much. But like there are these like it was basically like saying that gender and town city something. It was like girls from a town city and like
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
I have that question paper. If you allow me, then I can share that. I mean, question.
No. Let me just check it. In the meantime, I'm checking. So if I get it, then
Okay.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. Can you continue? Whoever was telling, not
Yes.
see only.
So there's this question where like originally like I after every question was referring to the database, like at like on the top it says like this question like belongs to the scores data set. So I will just open the data set and will like first have a look at it and then approach the question. So in the data set, like it shows that like the column is like town city, but in the question it's like city town or something. So like if we see it from the computational point of view, like it like totally like it like the question becomes invalid because like
That's just a label now. In the data set, if you notice that it is just a label that it is just mentioning a town or a city, but you will
The
not
data
find the
set
repeated
given in the
value.
exam was just for reference. It's not meant to be taken literally. It's just there for reference.
Let me just.
let me like just like see the question and then
Okay. So gender, right?
Sir, I said you to explain that init and rest concept
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
this one.
I remember. I remember. Just a second. Gender. I mean, in parallel, I would also I will just confirm in 2-3 seconds whether I can tell you that now, or else I mean, in the parallel you must write it on the forum as well, huh? Because that's the norm.
yes.
Okay.
Like as soon as like we get the answer, like at least we get the question papers, like I will definitely try to post it on the forum and get some other opinions on it as well.
Sure. That is what actually the thing is. Okay, yeah. Now I can see. Okay, is it this question by any chance? Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see the screen.
Yeah. Is it this question?
Just let me have a look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Wait. Fine. So your doubt is, can you just restate it once?
Yes, sir. So like there's no like in conceptually like there's no doubt, but like the variables, like the options which are written, like the options which are given is like not matching with the database. In the database it says city town, and in the options it's written town city. Like it's like, and like if we see it
Okay.
it's like totally different. The name of the variable only changes. So that was what like my concern was.
Okay. No, acha, fine. See. So yeah, that might be a problem, but that's nothing. I mean, you should take it as I mean the logical thing, not the literal
Like
thing.
you should take it, but like
Correct,
it's like
correct.
something which is like I get your point. Like yes, like
I
it's a very
understand.
minor doubt, but like
Understood.
I just felt that it should be in your you should be aware about it, and like
Correct.
it it like if we see it from the computational point of view, like even like if you make a small error, like going forward in
Exactly.
Python or
Exactly.
programming, like it just shows a error. So like here to like the entire thing just changed. So it's just informing you guys that it should be in your, at least you should know about this.
Okay, yeah, correct. That's fine. That's fine. That's totally fine. Yeah, thanks for bringing that to our notice as well. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Okay. I was thinking there is some technical thing. I mean, if I would have understood that, then I could have initially told you, yeah, that's a mistake from our side only. If you want to be totally accurate about it, correct? Okay. Okay. Fine, no issues. Okay, so since I am on this actually, so someone was also asking last question, right? Some question.
Yes, sir, that was me.
Yeah. So which question was it?
It's the last two questions about the athletes and their medals.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Like it would be great if you could go over them again. Like
If you could go through
I
it and
also
walk
had,
us through it and
Yes,
really
yes.
explain it, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Trying to find. See, this order is jumbled up, right? So I need some time to find which question is it, because
It's the Olympic medal one, sir.
okay.
There were two questions related to Olympic medal, now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were both
One was
interconnected.
about
Yes.
like counting between a certain time frame, and another was to identify what the time frame was, means the number of years.
This one? Just check.
Yes, this is one of them.
Yes, sir. This one.
Okay. So
Can we discuss all of them, like all the questions?
I cannot do that now, right? But let us do this question at least, fine? Since one question has been asked, so
Okay.
No, like
Okay.
you at least discuss this one and the other one which was in continuation with this question.
Yes, sir.
okay, fine. So let me ask you one more thing. This quiz was in one shift only, right? In only one day it was the exam, right? For all of you?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Qualifier? Okay. Fine. So do something except the table of rows which contains the rows of same player. Assume the player has won at least 2 medals and only 1 medal in any year. Okay.
Can I explain this question? If you permit?
Okay, so but before that, before explanation, those who are telling, do you have any specific doubt or I mean any problem that you want to specifically state? Like in previous case, it was a genuine error from our side only. I mean, understandable, but it was a syntactical error, is if you want to say. Yeah. So if there is something like that, you can tell that ahead. So that should be looked at.
No, sir, I don't have a doubt like that. I just, upon reading the question back in the examination hall, I could not simulate what the answer would be. So I just gave it my best guess in that room. So I was wondering if you could walk us through it.
Okay. So okay. Yeah, so I think Ankur was saying something, right? I don't know. Who was saying that you want to tell something about this question?
So I was, my name is Ankit.
Yeah, Ankit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So can I explain this question?
Oh, you want to explain it? Acha.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Go ahead. Let me check.
Okay. What we did is we have all the data in table one. Now from the table one, we are iterating one row at a time. I'm reading first row. In that row, we are checking कि उस जो element हमने जो उठाया है row में से क्या उसका year minimum है. अगर minimum है तुम्हारा first block which is at line number 5 will get executed. अगर ये हमारा मिनिमम होगा तो हमारे जो भी A में वैल्यू स्टोर है वो B में जा रही है
Ankit,
and
it would be better if you speak in English because some students might be
okay
comfortable in
sure.
English.
Look, in this question in the line 5 we are iterating one row at a time from the table 1 which is inputted as an input to the procedure do something. When we are in row 4, line 4, we are just picking one row at a time from the table 1, which we are iterating over using while loop. When we are on line 5, we are checking that the element that we have picked is that here the minimum till now. If it is minimum, then we are doing two things in the line number 6 and 7. First thing is we are assigning the value of A to B and the minimum most value that is earliest here to the variable A. In the second if conditions from line on the line 9, we are checking that is it the second means it is between A and B. If it is in between A and B, then we are replacing the value of the B and A remains.
Let me interrupt a little bit. At first, can you explain it in this way? What is A and B at line number 9? What is stored in A and what is stored in B?
Look, like if we are looking at if block from the line number 5, so it signifies that the A is the minimum year, or means the earliest year that we are having in the data set. And from the line number 6, we can see that the value of A is being put inside the variable B when we are updating A. That means the second means second year, that is which earlier was the first, is being stored in as a B. So in the line number 9, we are checking that is our variable the second earliest year, means the second medal.
Yeah, continue. Please continue.
In the while loop, we are just iterating those steps, storing the earliest year, that is the first price in the variable A, and the second price in variable B, and we are just returning the difference between the years in the line number 14.
Ankit, can you go over like what's happening like in line 9 and 10?
Yeah, sure. Look, when we are updating A, means that year is greater than A, means it is after A. If year wise you are looking like you will have 1900 before and 2000 after year wise. So you are just checking that the year of the medal that the player A has, the player Z has won is after A, means after he has won the first medal, and the Z dot year is less than B, means it is before the year B, means the value that we have stored in the line number 6 needs again to be updated in the second for the second medal. Did you got it?
Yeah.
So I have a doubt.
If you don't mind me asking, Ankit.
Yeah.
In the while loop, right?
Yeah.
In line number 9, it's part of that while loop, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It's inside that.
Yeah.
So now if B is the second, the second last time or the second last year the athlete won the medal, and A is the current year or the latest year, right? If he has won the medal. Am I getting this right?
Like no. Look, the A is picking the earliest year, because in the line number 5 you can see that Z dot year is smaller than A. Then we are updating the value of A.
Okay, so you're saying that B is the latest year, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the second year.
Let me just tell one thing. So every time the line number 5 if statement, would it be true? No, right? It would not be true every time. Only it would be true when my current the current card which I have fetched, that year is lesser than the previous value which was stored in it. Correct? So in that case,
minimum.
What was the answer?
So we would come to that, right? You have any?
Can I give a try in
Yeah.
explaining it?
Okay. Okay. Fine. Go
Sir,
ahead. But
and
the
one
thing.
thing is that the option in the question b equals to 2030 is given in the second line, but actually in the question paper it was 0.
Which one?
In the second line
So
in the
that
question.
depends on the set, right? So which set you are taking?
Okay, then like
Yeah.
the best way I think to explain is by taking an example of a data set. Like we can consider some 4 or 5 years and go through this pseudocode, and whatever we get at the end, that will be the answer, right?
Yeah, see, so I would not discuss which one is the answer as of now, but the thing is, by the way, your answers are not yet released, right?
No, sir, I don't
Yeah, the
think.
answers are not released. So that's what I said, that I would not discuss all the question, but since one of you requested, we would discuss this. The thing is, you don't have to, you can take a data set, but just see the logic, how it's happening. So every time let me just tell a little bit and then again Ankit can continue or whoever wants to explain. The main point is at line number 5 that if statement could not be true all the time. But whenever it is true at that time, A and B are changed, right? And A would be the minimum and B would be just the previous A, right? The second minimum that year. And then at line number 9, we have this if statement. Now, assume whenever in a particular iteration, when the line number 5 if statement was not executed, right? And we are coming to directly to the line number 9 if statement. What happens in that case? Let's say in that case the z dot year, that card, the year for that card, if that is greater than the a value, right? And the z dot year is lesser than the b value, right? Then we are setting b equal to z dot year. What does this line mean? Yeah, so can just if you understand this part, then you would get it. Assume in a situation when the if statement at line 5 is not executed and if statement at line 9 is executed. What does that line 2, 9 and 10 line mean in that kind of scenario? Can someone tell that? What happens in that scenario? Why? Ankit was explaining, right? You want to tell?
Sir, can you just repeat it? I was a bit off.
What I meant is,
Will not be the second one, sir. We will be not the second latest or any like that. It will be just between A and B, something between A and B. Then the B will increment that value.
exactly.
Means it should
So
be
what does
within
that mean?
minimum
What
and
does
B.
that mean? That in this year, right? What were we checking at line number 5? See, let me just wait. Let me just.
Minimum value, sir.
We were
What
checking
is the
minimum value.
minimum value?
But are we checking second minimum in line number 5? I am checking the minimum.
Sir, every
Sir,
time
sir, we are just
minimum will
checking the
occur, then
minimum
only
value
it
in
will
line 5.
change. And then B will store the second minimum and A will store the current minimum.
Correct. Let me just tell you that if you have let's come back to the basics. Let's say you have a, can I write over here? Wait, let me just open another. So let's say we have a data sequence like this, 10. Then let's say we have 5. Okay. And then we have, let's say 4.
Sir, for that means it is on the means Olympics data set, right? That
I
so
mean, I'm
we
not
should
worried
take
about the
that
data set.
data set only, no?
Whenever,
No, no,
yeah, that I
it
got.
says that's why I'm asking.
That I got. Okay, no issues. The thing is, whenever a pseudocode is given to you from this week and throughout this whole course, whenever a pseudocode is given to you, do not assume that it has any relation with the, the attribute name, the field names, the data variables name, that should be same. Okay, but it does not have any link with the data which is there. Assume it in that sense. So let's say even the code which is given to you, it may have an answer which is not actually pertinent with the data which is available in the data.
Yes, sir. That question I have checked. It means if we change the order of data, the answer becomes irrelevant. Even it is not in the present in the options. That happens. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I asked.
No, sir. That's the point. That's what I'm trying to say. That whenever a pseudocode is given to you, always try to think in terms of whatever the pseudocode is telling. Do not think that what kind of data is presenting the data set on which the pseudocode is
So
given.
basically computation logic, right?
Exactly. Only the logic, and please see that you only analyze the question on the basis of only on the basis of the field names that is there in the pseudocode. That's why we say that it's done on some specific data set. There is no relation with the current kind of data which is there in the data set and the pseudocode. Just see the logic.
Okay.
So let me come back to the point. So let's say when you are comparing a minimum, right? You are trying to find something minimum, right? What you are doing is you are using it, storing it into a variable, and every time you go, you see that whether the new data is lesser than that. If it is so, you then put that value into the minimum variable. But at that point, when you are checking the minimum variable at line number 5 in that question, I will go through that question again. There you are not checking whether what is the second minimum. So what I mean is, so let's say you see at first 10, right? You put it into minimum. Then you see 5. You see, okay, it is lesser, so put it into minimum. Then you see at this point, your minimum is 5, right? But your the second minimum, right? B. So there it was A and B, right? So let me write A and B only. So here A becomes 5 and B becomes 10. That is fine, right? And after that, what happens? Your this 4 is there. So if I come over here, I see 4 is again minimum. So A becomes 4 and B becomes 5. Fine. And then I come to 6. Right. So if I come to 6, let's check what happens. A would not change. So A remains 4. Okay, let me just change a little bit. Let's put 6 here and let's put 4 here. Okay, so here it would not change. So this would be 5 and this would be 10. Oh, clear? Any doubt? I just changed one thing. Okay.
Sir, but if that is the case, then the second, if condition at line number 9 or 10, I don't remember, that will be executed to check the next condition.
Exactly. I'm just coming to that only. What I'm saying is,
Okay.
try to find the minimum. Then what happens in this sequence? When you're at 5, you check A is okay. So initially I had 10, now I have 5. So put A equal to 5, B is 10. Then you see here I have 6. And then you say, okay, 6 is not lesser than 5, and that's why I would keep A equal to 5. And since you kept A equal to 5, you did not come into the if statement or in the first minimum checking if statement, and at that point B also remained at 10. But if you see up to this point, the second minimum is 6, not 10. The first minimum is correct, right? But the second minimum in your data it's 10, but actually it should have been 6, right? So in that case, whenever your minimum is not changing, but your second minimum is changing, what is the condition? That means whatever, let's say X is the variable, it must be greater than your first minimum, but at the same time, it must be lesser than your, yeah, it should be greater than
So
first
basically, we
minimum.
are creating classes.
What is
that
this?
meaning?
Yeah, exactly. So this is Z dot here less than your B, and that was Z dot here greater than A. So now if I go to that code again, right? See, Z dot here greater than A, Z dot here less than. Fine. So in that case, what we are doing, we are setting the second variable. Can someone tell me how could I have modified this code a little bit and still get the same result? I can just add one AND condition over here in the line 5, and along with checking the first minimum, I can also check the minimum, the second minimum, and then I can, yeah.
So we could have just written else if, and just the second condition, the line number 9, that else if a z here is less than b, because for the first in the line number 5 we have already checked one variable, one condition.
No. So what happens in that case if you change in? So see, initially we are
Yeah. I got it. Got it.
right?
Yeah.
So it should be checked in all the possible scenarios, or else you have to merge the if statement. That you can do. That's what I was telling. At line number 5 only, you have to merge, check the minimum as well as the second. Anyways, so what is the line 9 if statement doing? It is checking for the second minimum in a scenario where the first minimum or the minimum element that has not changed. the minimum element at line 5 has not changed, but obviously the new element which I am seeing now is lesser than the second minimum element. And that's why my second minimum is changing. B is changing, but A is not changing. So line number 9 takes care of that. Now, if you just up to seeing this, you would understand. Just see this 5 and 9 state. So what you are doing, you are putting A as the minimum value and putting B as the second minimum possible case, right? Okay, right? Anything else? Are we doing anything? And then moving table 2 and then subtracting B minus A. So what is B? It is the year in which the, I mean the second least year, and A is the least year. Okay. I mean the minimum year. So now I think it is very easy, right? You have the for a particular row.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You are getting it, right? Any doubt? Any further doubt in this particular question?
No, sir. Not at all. Thank you.
Okay. And those of you who are saying that it was 0, A and B were 0, so you can understand that because here we are finding the minimum, so initialization is with maximum 2030, and maximum means in a
It's understandable at that point only
yeah,
that
exactly.
we are doing minimum.
Exactly. At that point, you can understand you are finding minimum. The main crux of the question is at line 5, if statement when it is not executed, at line 9, at that time, if statement, the line 9 if statement would be executed. At which scenario this would happen? If you figure that out, you would find the answer. Okay. Fine. Okay. So another question was there. You were asking. Someone was asking regarding this Olympic data set. The other question, right?
Yes, sir.
Just check.
Question followed after this one. I guess that was the question, last question.
Is it this question? Just check.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. Fine. So somebody wants to volunteer, or should I go first? Okay, so take some time to read, then you can test.
So I can.
Okay, fine, go ahead.
Yeah. It is similar a bit like from the step 2 to step 4. You find something similar, but we are doing us when we are entering a second while loop. What this thing is doing is the for the all the remaining data in the table 1, it is checking that if the player is same, and if the player is same, it is just moving all the same player with the similar name to a table 2, else it will just put all the table values in the table 3 in the while loop. When we are doing we are getting a difference in the line, this is 14, means a difference is equal to do something in the table 2. Do something is a variable, is a function that we studied in the last question, is that just return what is the maximum duration between the first and the second medal of the player. And now in the line number 15, what we are doing is we are just checking that is the difference that we did is equal to maximum. In the line number 1, we have maximum is equal to 0. This two condition when seen together just signifies that is the first and second medal won by a player is in the same year. If they are in the same year, then we are just incrementing the count, which was initially initialized to 0. So in the 16th line, it is just counting for a unique player that we have for a for a player that we have in the table 2. What does that player have won the first and second medal in the same year, and is just regulating uh, document its counts. And the line of 18, we are checking that if the difference year is greater than 0, means, and we are updating the maximum with difference, means this block here from the code from the line 18th is storing the maximum gap here between the first and the second medal. And if that is maximum, then it is storing in max, and it is initializing the count variable to 1. Means for the maximum gap we have only single player, and when we are iterating again in the value from the line number 2, it when it goes in the line number 15, it will just count if line number 15 is true, it will just increment the count for that maximum value. Means for the maximum difference of the year that we have between first and the second medal for the same player, and it just goes on repeat. And at the end, the count variable just represent that in the maximum gap here between the first and the second medal won by a single player, how much player are there in that?
Can you rephrase that? I mean,
Yeah, just count. The variable count is just keeping count of the number of players that we have in the segment when we have the maximum difference. When a single player has won his first and the second medal.
okay, let me just make it a little bit down. Just a second.
After checking the initial conditions in the line number 22, we're just removing all the data related to a single player, and we're just iterating with the remaining players as we have written in line number 23.
Okay, so let me just tell this. So what was do something this method doing?
Sir, do something was just returning us the difference in year of the first and the second medal won by a player.
So it was the difference between latest and the second latest medal won by a player.
That's what I was saying. So if you have the latest thing and the second latest thing, then you are returning the difference between, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So that is that. Now then in the line number 15, we are checking that if it is equal to max. Now what is max? What is the value of max as of now? I mean in the first time.
Max is 0.
Max is initially 0. And if it is equal to 0, right? I mean, if it is that not 0, if it is equal to max, in the initial time it would be 0. But after that, we are finding the maximum difference and putting that into max, right? So what does that mean? So line number 18 to 20, when we are finding the maximum difference and reinitializing max with that, so what does that line means? What are we doing?
We are just storing the the maximum gap here between the two medals won in the line number 18. If condition in the line 18 is true, and we just
Between the I mean the first and the second middle, right? That's where it comes.
Yeah.
Acha. So you are storing the maximum difference, I mean the maximum year gap between the first and second middle. So as soon as you figure out this much, now you see the options. The maximum year gap between first and second middle, minimum year gap between first and second middle. So as soon as you know that, you have to find the maximum year gap. You know that either option A or C option would be correct. Right? It's a maximum year gap is, but C again it cannot go because it says the latest, right? But we know that it's for the first and second middle. Do something was doing it for the first and second middle. Remember? So we need to find the maximum year gap between the first and second middle, and that's it. And initially you are just doing count over here. This count is what it is doing. It is simply counting whenever you are getting the difference equal to maximum, that is the year gap is matching, or increasing the count by 1. So this is counting the number of players for which the maximum year gap is happening between the first and the second middle one. Does that make sense, or should I go line by line? Everyone is silent. Ankit, do you agree or you have another argument?
No, sir. I agree.
Okay. So any specific doubt? Is it okay? Should I go a little?
Sir, I have a doubt in week 3 activity question. I was not able to get.
Like it's a bit of conceptual, a different thing that we studied. Can I share my screen if you permit?
Okay. Can you share, by the way? I think, are you able
Yeah,
to share?
yeah, I'm just doing so. So it's this one. I want to ask, like, what does we generalize it to the n group means
Wait,
specifically?
let's see clearly. Just a second. Yeah, what's your question?
So it is having a sub data set of 15 this thing, and we are generalizing it to a student of n group. So what does this generalize mean?
Generalize means we took an example with a specific number. Now we are trying to find the general formula for that, irrespective of what is the number.
Means that we are just assuming that from a smaller data set, we are just assuming that the same result we will get from a larger data set.
That yeah, if we have used the proper technique to find the answer when you are given a static value, right?
Yeah.
Then you would obviously get the correct expression as well when you are making it for generalizing it for n values. But if you have used some other logic, but somehow since the data are static and you came to the correct answer, and if you on the basis of that you formulate your formula, right, general formula, then you may get into wrong answers.
Okay.
But you have to think about whether the thing that I'm using, is it actually getting generalized or not? That's important. By the way, I could not read the question fully, so if you want to comment, did you have only that doubt or you have doubt regarding that question?
No, so just this generalization.
Okay, fine. Yeah, Purnendra, you want to ask something?
I asked one question about that rest and
Right?
init.
Yeah. So after just yesterday finish this, I would come to that. I come to the init thing now. Init and the insertion, sorry.
Yes. So one thing that I wanted to ask means, are we going to do anything on week 6, or we are leaving it for today?
So as of now, most of you have not gone through the week 6 content, and many of you have told me about.
I have one question. Actually, I have one question. Means it is very basic, related to list only, but means can you just open the means activity 3.2?
3.2, okay.
Sorry, 3.2, not 6.2. There is one question that I wanted to ask.
Just a second.
It's basically how we write the difference.
Yeah, which question is it, by the way? Can you tell?
It's 6.2, I guess. Means I don't remember the question, that's why I have to see.
Okay, wait.
Give me a minute. Sir, it's 6.3 first question.
6.3 or 6.2?
6.3 first question.
Okay. Just a second.
Basically, that question means there is two parts to it, right? There is A with 1, 2, 3 up to 6, and then B and C. Then we have an iteration, and then we have to fill the code. In code, there are two types of list operations that are being performed. First is B plus plus X, and C is equal to X plus plus C. So what is the difference between two?
So you are adding at a specific. Sorry. Yeah.
What is the difference between two? Is it related to position, or it is same? I think different.
Wait, let me open. I'm not getting.
So the double plus sign
Yes, you can
was
open it.
used when we were appending a second list to a first list.
What, Ankit?
When we are using double plus, it means that we are appending the list together. Like we are
I
appending
know
the.
that I understand. But there is like b plus plus x and then x plus plus b. So what is the difference between two? That I would.
It just means that when we are using b plus plus x, then we are appending x list after b list. But we are
Position.
using
Okay.
x plus plus b. It means that we are
Okay.
taking the b list after x list.
Position. It's simply the position. So I got it now. What you are asking. So this question, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is, by the way, what is B in these questions?
B is an empty list, sir.
B is an empty list, or let's say B is a, if I go by type, B is a list. Okay. And what
Yeah,
is
it
X?
is just another list. It is just another list.
Yeah. And what is X, by the way?
X is just an iterator that goes into the list A and appends the value if X is less than 5. That value is less than 5.
Fine. And when I write X inside this square bracket,
That means we are adding element to the list B. Empty list B,
okay,
we
not
are adding the
just
element to it.
if I directly write, let's say some D equal to square bracket X. What does that mean? Can I write
That
D
means
equal to square bracket X?
What, sir?
D, let's say there is variable D variable, D equal to square bracket of X. Can we write something like that?
No, sir, we can't do it because it is just an element and a square bracket of X. That means X is an element of some list.
That's the thing. See, that's why I asked this question. So when you are writing X in the form of that square bracket, that is itself a list. That simply represents a list. So when you write D equal to square bracket of X, that simply means you are allocating the list on the right hand side, which is essentially your square bracket X, into another list, which is D. And that's it.
Okay, so means basically due to the X being an element of list, B becomes the list.
Exactly.
And in general, it will be just a variable that will hold the value of X.
That will hold
That's
the
the
value. Now B is a list, and now if you are adding your square bracket X, if you are adding it in front, right? So that means that element would be first, and then your B list is added this end. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And if you are adding your, because both of these are list, B is also a list and X is also a list at this point. Now, when you are adding it, in which order you want to add, that would matter, right?
Yes.
If you add plus X, then it would be added B list plus X list. And if you add X plus B, that means X is the first list, along with that B would be concatenated. So assume it in terms of concatenation. So you understand what do we know by what do we understand about concatenations, right? It's like merging. So
Yes, I understand. We can just merge the two lists.
Correct. So that's the idea. So the main point over here was your square bracket X is not an element or not something else, and that's why I asked you if you can put D equal to square bracket X. You can do that. Square bracket X is itself a list.
Yeah, my mistake.
Fine. That's the conceptual part.
I think that I got this one wrong because that I don't understand the insertion sort pseudocode. Means basically I understand the logic of insertion sort, but I don't understand how sir is doing it. I have one doubt there. When sir is using for each x in some list, we are using x as an iterator, but he is changing the value of z for being an iterator. So that is one confusion that I have.
Give me a minute. Let me download the slides once, okay? Because I did not plan it. But,
So can I just clarify this point?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's just like we are iterating when we are iterating on a values of a string. It just the value when we are saying that for x in a list, it just iterates the values of the list one by one. Like in the initial, the value x will be assigned to the first element of the list and to the second element. And that one thing is when we are using that square bracket, when we are putting x, it is because we have initialized b as a list, and to amend to that list we need a list, not a single element. And we are iterating for each x in C. That just means that we have a value from the list, and we are just using the square bracket to make treat that single element as a list.
Okay, so we are basically typecasting it to become a
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, I will just opening the anyway, I will explain the things of week 6. And since most
Yeah,
of you have not learned that, so let us discuss the week 6 thing, and maybe we would, in the next session, we would discuss the solve with us questions. Otherwise, it's not fruitful anyway.
means it's far better if we can go through the week 6 content, because we have gone through the week 5 content. So I guess we can understand it.
Okay, wait, let me. Okay, so since I kind of jumped from that into this, so your questions regarding the quiz, I cannot discuss all of them, but whatever you are mentioned, I hope all of those are clear, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, fine. Fine. So fine. So I'm opening now. This is here. It's one, right? Okay. Wait. Yeah. So what is that pseudocode thing? Wait.
But it's lecture 3, I guess.
Yeah, lecture 3, but I'm not able to find the slide separately. Just a second. Okay, anyways, I think I would directly take from the video only. This was your hypothesis testing. This is not it. These are other things. Yeah. Okay, fine. So, what were you asking about the insertion sort of thing?
Sir, just a little below.
Okay.
Full complete code I want to see.
Wait.
The entire pseudocode. Just after that, I guess. We have insertion sort, sorted list before that, above.
Okay, wait. So let me open from the lecture only. That
No,
would-
above. Because insertion sort is a procedure, and before that it was
Yeah,
there.
this one, right?
Yeah. This one.
Yeah, sorted list insert.
This
Yeah.
one. So means sir was explaining something in which he said that for Z in L and then X less than Z. So basically Z is an iterator, right? And he said for X something X. So he said that let's say we have a new list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up to 10. And then we want that x is equal to 5. We want to insert 5 in that list, in a sorted list.
Correct.
And then he used some Z in L. That means Z is an iterator which goes into the new list or the list that we have created. We say that it is L. So Z goes into the L. And then if not inserted, that means if insert is false, then we will go inside and X is less than Z. So basically Z means X is 5. So 5 is less than that Z. But after the first iteration, what sir did was he just incremented Z. He just incremented X and not Z. That was the main concern.
No. So just a minute. So for each Z you have, then for each element you are going, and then if you are finding the element to be inserted as smaller than the current element inside the list.
Yes.
So then you are adding the current, I mean that element, right? After in a new list. See, it's been added in the new list, right? Now
new list, yes.
Yeah, new list initially. So let's say so 1, 2, in case of when it was 1, 2, 3, you are assuming X equal to 5. So when it was 1, 2, 3, what would happen? That Z, if not
Sir,
inside.
can you draw
Yeah,
and explain?
I would draw, but before that, let me just tell you. So, what would happen in
Okay,
case
sir.
of 1, 2, 3? So, when 1, 2, 3 is occurring, what would happen?
So it will not be inserted because X is 5. So 5 is not less than 1, 2, or 3. So that loop will not run, and then we will go inside that if not inserted one, and we will insert it in the list X.
Yeah, so when I'm getting, let's say 1, the first iteration not inserted of it would be true. This if statement would be true, and I come in and I see if 1 is lesser than 5, right?
No, it is not.
Sorry,
1 is less than 5.
Lesser than 1.
1 is less than 5.
Initially, when Z would be what? 1, you are having it from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes,
so your
yes.
Z is 1, right? And your X is, let's say, 5. Okay.
Yes.
And initially your Z is 1. So you check if 5 is, so X is 5, so 5 is lesser than 1, which is not correct.
No, sir, it is not.
So what happens is you inserted the Boolean inserted variable, it's not modified, right? You are not coming inside. So it's still false. It remains false, right? And as long as it remains false, you are not actually. I mean, you are coming into this if statement actually. If it becomes true, then at that point you will not execute this if anymore.
Yes, sir.
Because
yes,
we
sir.
know that we
So
have
new list will be Z. This we will add this Z, the current value iterator value, to the new list.
Yeah. So initially we are not doing anything in the new list, but as soon as we see the 5 thing, right, the 5 number, I mean, so when Z
Yes.
equal to 5, and assuming that you do not have 5 now, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So when you see that your Z equal to 6, right, in the 4, when Z equal to 4, it would not happen. When Z equal to, let's say, 6, then what happens? Your 5 less than 6 is satisfied, right? Your X would be 5, so your 5 less than 6 would be satisfied. At this point, your new list would be modified for the very first time. So your new list, we would add new list plus X, which was initially empty, and then you are adding the element 5, and then you are making inserted equal to true. Correct? And after
so it will just run one time, and then once it is true, so then It will be means if we are sorting, that means the next value will be 7, for example, let's say, then it will not work, right? Because
why? Because this is set to true, and that's why you would not
yes,
get inserted over here.
yes, yes.
Not true.
So it is just for one use case.
Exactly.
Means we can just use once to do that. Okay.
To do that. Fine. So
Got it, sir.
the main thing is in this inserted variable. So only this inserted would only be made true when the only element which you are trying to insert, that is being, put in the proper place. So now your new list is only the element 5, okay, and you are then adding 5 plus z. What at this moment, what does that mean? See, we are inside the for loop only. So when we are adding new list plus z, that means you are adding 5 plus what is the current value of z, which is 6 in this case, right?
6
plus 6. So after that, let's say you go to 7, and obviously not inserted would be there, and you would still do. So let me just tell this: is it under any if condition? Now I would draw the whole thing and give you the example how it's working. Let me just this inserted thing is clear, right? Now let me just draw it.
Yes, sir. The new list is under the previous if condition, that the first if condition not inserted was there.
Is it so? It's not even on the first if condition. It's a general statement. This one. This is only inside the loop. That's the point. That's the whole point. If you just see it, let me just.
But it's means just after the bracket of the outer if. That's why I said.
Let us do it like this. 4 length, let's say 6, 7, 8. Let's go to 8. And my x is 5.
Yes.
Fine. Now what happens? Let's see, go one by one. So for each z in L, so currently my z is what, 1?
It is 1, sir.
If not inserted, what is inserted? Which is false. So not inserted would be false. Not of that would be true. So you come inside.
True.
Right? And you check that x is 5, which is less than 1. That is not correct. As soon as you see that, okay, this is not correct, you come at this line. Let's you come out of if, right? And then you come into this if, and there is no other statement, right? Inside this if. So you come out of this if from this line. Now see, this is directly in line with this code. Right? It's in the for loop. It's not under any if statement. So if it is not under any if statement, obviously this would be executed. So what would be my new list at this stage? New list would be?
It will just hold the value of z.
1. Correct? Because z is in this instance 1. This is 1, right? Z is 1. We saw over here.
Yes, sir.
So 1. Okay, great. Now see there the for loop is ending. So we would again repeat, it would come over here and repeat the step. So again, if not inserted, I'm checking. So have I modified my inserted variable? Have I gone into this if statement? No, right? Because initially it was 1, as you can see, z equal to 1 and x was 5, so it was false, and that's why I did not modify my inserted variable.
Yes.
So what was the initial value of inserted? False. Right? So again, I would see that false, not a false would be true, and I come inside and see now, but this time my value is the next one in the sequence, which is 2.
It will be 2, and the similar will go up to 4.
Exactly same. Yeah, so 2, 3, 4, right? And then when I get 6, now in this case again, if not would be true, and now I get it 6, which is my true condition.
Will be.
So you just directly add new list plus x. So what happens in 5? Here you add 5. Here only you add 5.
And we are adding 6, right? So if 6 is there, then means it is 5 is less than 6. Yes, true. Okay, then we are adding 5 to that. Okay, we are adding the x value.
5 is being added over here. You are asking why this z is being added. It is added because you also have to add the element with which you are comparing at the current iteration, right?
Yes.
6.
Yes.
Which is 6, right? So 5 is being the new inserted element would be added over here. And since the new element is added over here, then because of that only we are making the inserted equal to 2 inside the
yes.
Okay, so now this is done. So I have added the 5. I'm at this line and I have added the 5 in the new list and then made inserted equal to true. So making this inserted equal to true, make sure that I do not insert any other element in middle, because my this if would be always false as I go along with this for loop. Fine. So after that, what I do, I come out of the statement over here, and then I see new list equal to new list plus Z. Now what is Z over here? It was 6, right? So
It was 6, yes.
That's 6. And now when you go to 7, directly you would come to this line. What would happen is when you come to 7 again, we are getting, because see, now we have actually changed the inserted variable. Now inserted is now true, right?
It is true, yes.
So this
So
whole
it
thing
will
would be
not
false.
run.
I would directly come to this line. Sorry, I mean this line.
But again, that will also not run. Okay.
This will not run. This would be false. So inside the for loop,
Yes.
I would come, and then from here I would jump over here directly.
Yes, directly we will jump to the new list and we will insert the value of Z.
Yeah. So now 7, 8, 9, 10. So 7, 8, whatever. These two values would be inserted after. Got the point?
Okay. Yes, sir, got it. But then what is that if not inserted new list is equal to new list plus plus X, just below that?
Yeah. So if let's say, I mean, what is your current value of inserted now?
It is false, sir.
Okay.
Means, sorry, it is true. It is true.
It is true. So your true value, true or not of true would be false, and that's why you would not go inside it. Right? But in which case this inserted would be true? I mean, sorry, I mean this whole statement would be true, or the inserted would be false. Can you think
Yes,
of scenario?
inserted should be false.
So
Inserted should be false.
let's say my this x dot x less than z condition is never becoming true. When can that happen?
If list is empty.
Okay, let me just give you the example now. So let's say your x is not 5, right? Your element to be inserted now is 8.
Okay.
What happens now? Just think of it.
Then it will not increment. That x less than z will not increment till the last.
Everything would go, but the last is defined at 7, right? So
yes,
this whole process of, I mean, this part would not be executed even when your list is ended at 7, right? So only this line would execute, and it would make 1, 2, dot up to 7 it would add. And then it reaches at for each z in L. But L has already exhausted, right? Your last element of L was 7. Right?
Yes.
Last element of L was 7. You have already added 7 till at this point, right? Your last iteration was 7. And this if statement has yet not become true because your Z is 8. Right? And I mean, sorry, not Z, sorry, X is 8. Your X is 8.
X is 8 and Z is 7.
1 to 7. Yeah, at the end it would be 7. So nothing is becoming right. So what would happen? It would go again at the end for loop, and obviously your Z is 7 was the last element, and now the for loop ends. But see, you have not yet inserted the element. So you move out of the for loop, you would end the for loop again. And at this point, right? At this point, if you had if not inserted, that means if this is the scenario, right? At this point, inserted is false. Why? Because you have not executed this whole if statement at least once in the whole traversal of the list, right? So your inserted would still be false.
False, right?
Right. And now your not of false would be true, and then you are what you are doing, you are adding the x element, which is your 8 at the last. Because you can only get the situation that this if statement has never been executed in a scenario where the element that you want to insert is the last element itself, and that's why the for loop is getting terminated. This L list is getting terminated even before you reach the correct position to insert. So if it is terminated, that essentially means that there is no current position for my current element to be inserted into the list. And since my list has ended, that means the correct position is after the list ends. And that's why since my current set has ended, we are appending X after the new list. So this is this particular statement only to incorporate
the last element at its position.
incorporate case when x is the
The last
largest element, or since this sorted list I'm writing largest element. Okay, so that's why that thing is there.
Got it, sir. But one thing that I wanted to ask means, is this an efficient method to do it? Because I don't think that comparing everything with everything is an efficient method, as we have seen the binning. So using binning also, can we do the same?
Binning, when can you do binning? You can do binning when there are
Some similar
yeah,
characteristics are
exactly. You need some common characteristics, right? These are just numbers. There is no common characteristics within them.
Yes.
Binning is done. Actually, if you see binning, there are two important points to be observed. First thing is, there are actually not one, two common characteristics.
Okay.
We would bin on one of the common characteristic and then we would count and conclude about the other characteristics. That's the thing. Right? So if I say that how many students have got marks more than 50, right? Or let's say if I say that, okay, let's say how many of the students have birthday in the month of, or let's say how many students have same birthday. And that's okay. So how many students have same birthday? So here there are 2 points on which you are dealing with when you do the binning. First thing is you bin them on the basis of, let's say, month, right? So you bin them on the basis of month. So common birthday is one point, and another thing is basic binning on the basis of month. Okay, so inside the bin you would check the second characteristic, which is their commonality, which is equal to the day or not, right? So we are saying common birthday, but we are checking on the basis of day as well as on the basis of month.
Month. Yes, got it, sir.
So you need one property to do the bin, okay, and one property inside the bin which you would check, right, inside each bin. So, but there is no such property in numbers, so we are not going for that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so let me go to 6.1 and see what was there. This is not that. How many of you have still doubt with the concept of list of list? I think we discussed that briefly.
The rest and init, that is the only doubt I have. But it is based on the list of list, basically multiple list when we have.
Yeah. Wait. So that is just one property. I mean, one kind of, let's say, operation.
Yes, but means how it operates on list of lists. That is one thing that I always get confused.
Wait, just a second. I'm trying to find one example.
Yes, that's why I made that. I said you to do that example.
Just a minute. So, can you pinpoint me to the location where it is there? That would be easier for me to discuss.
Init and rest, sir. It is week 5, sir.
Just a second.
Week 5, I think the pseudocode part where sir explained. I think it's the last lecture, last or second.
Okay.
Tutorial 5.1, sir.
Sorry, which one?
Tutorial 5.1.
Okay.
That has all the pseudocode for all the functions that we are performing on list. But for my question, it is based on one of the graded assignment. It asked you have to compute it on the list of
Opening
list.
that. Okay, I've opened it. So tutorial one found. Okay. Fine. Let me just share it. Yeah. So what are you asking?
How init and rest works
I mean, the
on
pseudo
a
is
list
there.
of list type of once we have a list of doubles or triplets, how list of list that will act on it. Here we have only single element, but what if we have in list we have multiple lists? How
Okay.
rest and init will work on that?
Okay. So when you put rest, what it essentially means is whatever element is after that, right? So if I'm getting that
After the first one.
after the first one, right? And
Yes, sir.
when you are so whatever elements I'm saying, whatever elements are there after the first element. When you are working
Yes.
on a list of list, what are the elements in a list of list? Can you tell the type of the elements in a list of list? Like in this case, the elements are of integer type. What would be the type of the elements in a list of list?
We can have same type or different type also.
Okay, so wait,
And,
what I mean is, let me
sequences you mean?
I mean, wait. So what I mean is, if I have a list like this, L equal to 1, 2, 3. So I say the elements are of type integer.
Okay, so it will be list.
Exactly.
List itself.
Exactly. That's the whole point. So let's say there are some elements over here, and what will I write? Elements are of type
list.
Exactly. Now you will obviously get your answer. If I write rest of, let's say, the list L2, fine. What should I get? Let's say here A, B is there, here C is there, here D, comma E is there. What was the function of rest? It returns you a list by removing the first element, right? Now, yeah, so if element is a list itself in L2 and you remove the first element, what does that mean? You remove the first list.
Okay, so it will remove A and B.
I mean, this list, I mean, A and B is just an example, right? If let me draw it properly. So what I mean is, so A comma B is there in a list. C is a singleton list. And let's say D, E, F, G is another list. And then I write the rest of L2, which would essentially remove this first element because it would remain, these all are elements, right? And this is my first element. So rest always removes the first element. So it would remove the first list. Let's say if I had a, I had, let's say L3 equal to a list of triples, right? Let's say A comma B comma C or something like that. And let's say something D comma E comma F dot 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 whatever. And I write rest. So the idea of rest is it would remove the first element. So whenever you use rest, you see that what is the element that we are talking about. Is it a list? Is it a triple? Is it a double? I mean pair, right? Is it itself a? I mean we have not gone into dictionary, but is it a dictionary? Whatever is it, you remove the first element and you return the rest of the structure.
So here first element is actually the entire triplet, not a single element.
Correct.
Okay, I thought that it was just a single element and then I was doing the calculation. I got it.
Yeah. So I mean the definition is you remove the first element, right? And that's why you remove, you're removing it. But this is all on the basis of the pseudocode or let's say whatever. So if we want you to expect it in a different manner, so that would be communicated in the question with the pseudocode. Fine. So
Maybe using nested loops.
we have to use nested loop and then go into inside each of the internal element and then remove the first element from there. So that would be a separate implementation. Fine.
Okay.
So meaning the important point over here is that you understand this, how this code is written. If you understand this,
Sir, can you explain the pseudocode of init?
so I'm going to that now.
Because it was means a little bit of means I was not able to understand that prev. What is that prev? Prev is equal to x, right?
Yeah. So did you understand what init is doing?
Yes, sir. I understand that it returns all the elements except the last one.
Okay.
It removes the last element.
Fine. So yeah, someone wants to say something. Ankit, you want to say something?
Sir, I was just remembering it like init was something new, so I just linked it with initial. So we are just counting everything except the last element from the starting point.
Exactly.
A point to remember just.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah, that's exactly correct. And if you go by that, so you said what is previous, how it is happening. So let's see one by one. So you see that initially in the pseudocode, we are making a variable false found equal to false, and then we are initializing an empty list, right? And then we are iterating through the list that we have, which is 20, 30, 40, 50, 10. And initially my found is false, so anyway it would be true, right? In the first iteration, so if true, and I'm then making initial init list equal to init list plus previous. So initially, when I'm doing it for the first time, previous would be nowhere, right? It would be nothing. Initially, I'm not initializing previous with anything, right? So
But x has the value of 20, I guess. First of all,
sorry, which one?
for each x in L. So let's say 20, 30, 40, 50 is L. So for
X
each
is
x in L,
20.
so x should store the first value.
X is, yeah, X is 20. X is, that's, you're correct. X is 20. But I'm just going line by line. So if you see, if found the inside the for each loop, the first statement, if statement, I'm over there, and I'm
That
just
will not be executed.
no, that would be actually yeah. So that would become false. That would, we would not go inside it, and then we would come to the else statement. Now in the else statement, we made found equal to true. So now next time, if in the next iteration of the for loop, now I mean the if statement would be executed. Correct. And
Yes.
and just before, I mean, sorry, just after doing that, I'm making the previous equal to x. Now you see which one I am making. I mean, why I am making the variable called previous, because the first usage of x, right? I mean, the x equal to 20. I mean, the first usage of x equal to 20 would happen when the iteration is in 30. Getting what I want to say? So you are setting previous equal to x. So initially previous would become 20. PREV, will be initialized to 20. But this 20 would be used in the iteration when x is 30. Is that clear? Could I explain? See, in the first iteration, what is x? It is 20. You are getting into the if, it is false. So you made
Sir, I understood, but actually your voice is breaking, I guess.
My voice is breaking? Okay.
No, it's clear, sir.
It's coming fine.
Okay, so I think there is some network problem on the other hand. Yeah, so what I mean is, we call it previous. The reason for that is we are using previous equal to 20 in the iteration when x is 30, right? So when x is 30, what is the previous value? It's 20. So in the next iteration, when x becomes 30, right? For each x in L, and when x is 30, my if found would be satisfied. It would be true. Why? Because in the just previous iteration, when x was 20, I use the else statement to initialize found to be true, right? So now found is true, and when x becomes 30, then my if found holds, and then I use the, I mean,
But
I
your
add
screen is not visible.
Okay, I think Purnendu, your network connectivity is not good, because my voice is clear to others, I think.
Your voice is clear, sir. No worries.
Okay. So please try rejoining maybe, or wait for some time.
My network is working fine, sir. Check yours, please.
Okay. Yeah, so others can see they confirm. So I hope it should be fine. I don't know. Check once from your side. Okay. Yeah. So in the next iteration, I just make my init list. I add the 20 with it. Now, what would I gain? What would I gain by having this previous equal to x? The main idea is I just want to eliminate the last element, right? I mean, whatever is the 10th
Yes.
element, I want to eliminate that. That's my whole point.
Mm.
If I want to do that, I must, what did I just say? That whenever we are using a value 20, that is being used in the iteration for 30. 20 was first put into the init list when x was equal to 30, right?
Okay.
If I proceed likewise, when would 40 be pushed into the list? When the iteration is 50. When would 50 be pushed into the list? When the iteration is 10. So every next iteration, I am pushing the previous one into my list. Pushing means adding that plus plus thing. Okay. So every next iteration, I am adding the previous element into the init list. If that is the scenario, in which iteration I would add 10? In none of them, because there is no other
In none
element
of them.
after 10, right? In order to add 10 into the list, I must
We have to
go
pass on the 10. After that, if some value is present, then only we
in
can
that
add 10. Else
iteration
we
of the
will
for
not
loop.
add.
Exactly. Exactly. So in
Okay,
the
got
next
it.
iteration of for loop, my 10 would be added. But since there are no more iterations for the for loop because L has ended at 10, that's why 10 is not getting added. Now my question is, what would be the value of previous when you come out of this program? Please.
When we come out of loop, then
I'm telling you what would be the value of previous when you come out of this whole program. So your init procedure has ended. What would be the value?
means we have done all the previous. I think it should be 10 because
Exactly.
x will actually hold the value 10 at that point.
Exactly.
So
So previous would hold the value 10, but it is not getting the chance to iterate one more time in the for each loop and put it into the list.
got it. So that's why we are this is how we are getting that remove the 10. Okay,
Exactly.
okay. Got it.
Exactly. Fine. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So okay, yeah, Tarika, you have some question?
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask, like, if I have a list, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
Elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know how to, I mean, if I store the same, like this list is stored in, let's say, list A. I know how to like duplicate it. But I wanted to ask, like, in what conditions this list will be reversed? How to create a reverse order in the list?
How to create a reverse order in the list? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what you can do is, let's say, by the way, you are having this previous thing, right? So you are in every, okay, so let me just go to the page and I will discuss here. Fine. Okay. So we have a list, let's say equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And somehow we want a result list are equal to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now how to do that? See, the first thing that you can do is, right, whenever you see the first element, there are multiple ways of doing this, but let's say if you want to do it in one way, you can traverse through this list one by one, right? Like the normal list for in the way you traverse for each, right? You do that, right? And whenever you are reaching the end, at some point, you keep the previous, like over in the previous code, we had that previous thing, right? You had that previous element thing. So if you maintain a list of previous element, so when you are at 5, you would have a list of 4, 3, 2, 1 accordingly. When you are at 4, you would have a list of 3, 2, 1. When you are at 2, you would have a list in which 1 is there. So at every point, whenever you are at a specific position, you maintain a list of all the earlier elements. Fine, you do that. Now, if you have such a list, right, whatever is there, in the order you add it, you traverse that list and simply print it. That gives you in the opposite order. Okay, so getting what I want to say, I mean, I would not discuss the exact code with you. It's quite easy actually. So that you have to think about. But what I am saying is, when you are traversing the list, try to go to the end of the list. And every time you maintain a previous thing, right? And whenever you see the list has ended, then you can try to print it out. So that would give you in the reverse order. So basically you are going like this, going like this, going like this. And when you have ended, now you print. Right? Now you print like this, one by one.
Excuse me, sir, I understand this, but when I put it into the program, I cannot understand how to do that.
Okay. So should I tell that or not? Because can you tell me how you approached it?
Sir, actually, I was thinking how to do that. I understand, like I have to traverse, then I have to take the last element, and then I have to put it into the new list. But how to do that? I mean, I don't know how to do that.
Let me give you
the
another
easiest way.
Yeah, easiest way. Another thing I'm telling you. You are clear with the concept of recursion?
Sorry, what?
Recursion. Oh no, I don't think, right? You don't know.
No.
You don't know about recursion. Okay, no problem. Fine. So let me go to that previous thing. That would actually help. Where is that? Okay. So what I'm saying over here is, so let's say you at one position, initially you run a loop, right, and you go from 2030 in that direction. Okay. Now, when you see 10, right, when you see, let's say, I mean, at the end you reach at every step, whenever you go, let's say you are at 20. Okay. Try to maintain. Here we have one previous variable. Okay, PREV equal to X. I am telling you to maintain a list over there as well. Okay. I cannot tell you the pseudocode now, and I mean we actually cannot tell you any code directly like that. That should be coming from your side. But I can tell you the hint, and if you give me a pseudocode, I can correct that now.
Sir, one way I know, like we can create an array, and then we can do the reverse order, like I minus.
That is not there. That we have not yet gone to that part, right? So those things are not there.
Yeah, that's what. But in this manner, I mean, I'm not able to think.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. In this manner, if you have an array and all those things, if you can do it using index, then that's just easy. It's super easy. But if you do not go with array and all those things, if you just have to do it in this manner, then it would be a little bit difficult. What you have to do is you have to maintain a previous list of all the elements, and then when you are reaching the end, you have to print the previous list element one by one. It would be but you can also use recursion to do that, but recursion has yet not been discussed with all of you. So maybe when recursion is discussed, it would become much more easier for you to write that code.
So in this type of operations, we can also use list slicing. So
list slicing and all those things are not discussed, right? What I'm trying to discuss say is whatever we have learned till now up to week 6 or week 7. Week 6, I mean week 7 is out, but I'm considering week 6 on. Whatever we have learned till week 6, how can we do?
Okay, sir.
Okay. If we go to slicing, we don't even need slicing. As Karika was anyway saying that if you do it using indexes, you can print it from the opposite side. That's it. But yeah, if you do not want to go do all those things, it's not practically required. See, whatever, if you want to make this thing complex, then you can do it, but it's not required. You can, when you are really writing up real codes, you can use the reverse indexing and you can use slicing and whatever. But if you have just out of interest, if you want to implement it, then the thing is here we have one previous. So what was the essence of this init code? We could store the previous element. Isn't it correct? Every time at a current iteration, I had the previous element. So if I can do that, and I know that at the end, when my 10th, when my x was 10, right, the last iteration, I had 50 in my hand, right? So I know which was the previous element. So if I print 50 at that point, sorry, if I print 10 and then print 50, that is somehow reversing the element. Getting what I want to say? Just see the
Yes.
code, right? And in previous equal to x, assume that previous is 50, right? And your x is 50 at the current iteration. Assume x is 50 at the current iteration. So at the last line, you make x equal to previous. So now previous is becoming 50. Now you come to the next for loop iteration. In next for loop iteration, x is becoming 10. So when x is becoming 10 in the next for loop iteration, your previous is 50. At that point, if you print 10, I mean x first, and then you print the previous, what would be the output? X is 10 and previous is 50. So you print 10 and then you print 50. So if you just observe the last two elements, you see 50 and 10 was there in the original list, but you are printing 10 and then 50. So it is reversing the two elements. Only point is we are using a single previous value to do this, and that's why we can only print 50 and 10 and single element. But if we can use a list over there itself to track which elements are the previous element with respect to the current element, then you can just print it at every time. Print the x and then print the element of the top element of the list. It would be a little bit difficult code, not difficult, I mean a little bit tricky, but you can print. Okay, so maybe I would give you the code anyways. So, but just try to do that on your own. Getting the point, what I want to say. See, the thing is, you have this previous thing, right? And previous is enabling you to print the previous element. I mean, sorry, print the latest element and then print the previous element. That is essentially reversal. So if you can maintain instead of a single variable, if you can maintain a previous list at every iteration, then you can just use that list to print all the element in the opposite order. That can be done if you ask that question. Yeah, if you do it fine, maybe most probably on discussion forum, on discourse I can post. On discourse I can give you a post with the code. You can check that out, all of you. Fine.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
We don't have access to this course.
Okay, that's another problem.
So from the concept of this init, like how this is behaving, I got an idea like when we have to find the relation between two elements, and it was explained by example in the earlier weeks that like when we have to find that the two students who are having same date of birth. Now, if we consider the concept of init and the concept of short, then if we are having our data set in ascending order of date of birth, we can use the same concept of init and just capture that the date of birth of this element and the previous element. If they are same, we can just find the relation also.
Maybe you can do that. Yeah, you can do that. Okay.
So for this condition, like we can do this thing. So we can avoid nested loop here, correct? If we are having all the data in a shorted manner for the date of birth.
Nested loop where you want to say? In which code?
So like if we are not using like the concept of init comparing to consecutive elements, then we have to do for establishing pair between the relation between the two elements of a data set. We need to go use a nested loop, like,
Nested loop,
but we can altogether avoid that thing if we are using the concept of init, and our data is provided to us in a shortened manner, like in ascending or descending order.
Correct. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can do that.
Just want to confirm.
Yeah, sure. You can do that. Only thing is, see, every time you will not have data in this order, right? So you have to accordingly work.
Yeah, that we have to do.
Fine. So, any doubt in the okay? Yeah, Antara, you want to ask?
Sir, I was wondering if the doubt session, like the solve with us, is going to be rescheduled for week 6.
Yeah. Since we actually I did not do that, it took some time to discuss quiz questions and also it was already late. So it could
Yeah.
not start week 6 solve with us. So solve with us would be rescheduled as all of you said to discuss quiz and all.
Okay.
So it would be rescheduled. Most probably we would see that it kind of went like an open session. So in the next session, we would probably do either solve with us first and then clear other doubts, and or maybe we would have one extra session that would be announced. Whatever is done, that would be announced, right? Either we would have a solve with us merged with open session as the next day's session, or we would have one extra session for solve with us. Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, Tarika.
I'm sorry, sir, but it's not related to computational thinking. I wanted to ask, my Google Calendar, it is not synchronized with maths classes. I'm not getting any notification about the maths and English classes. So what should I do?
For that, you can just go to your Google account settings and you can
No, I am.
activate the synchronize. You can join. There are some groups option. If you
Oh,
will
no,
go
it's
to,
already synchronized with statistics and computational thinking. But unfortunately, I cannot see any classes about the maths and English.
I think you just need to like go
for
to
the
the
after this
main page.
qualifier, we are not getting too much of classes schedule as of today.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, well, for now it's today only CT classes there, as far as I know, and for the following 2-3 days we don't have any for now.
Okay.
There is a maths session tomorrow though. If you could just go to the main, like the orientation and the information page of maths or stats, if that's what you want, and scroll down, there's a link down there which says you can subscribe to the like subject calendar.
Okay, I'll check it out. Thank you very much.
So just want to consult related to like CT itself. Like when we are seeing a new type of code, it sometimes consume a lot of time understanding it. So what are the factors should we consider when we are dealing with a pseudo code, or we should just practice as much as possible from the different pseudo codes?
Okay. Good question. See, the thing is, first of all, after this, I was trying to, okay, let me just use the exact terms here that would make these things more clearer. So I have been telling you a way to represent data. I have been telling you that how you are actually structuring the data. So I am currently using the proper term, which is the data structure. So this list and list tuples, I mean, this your pairs, triples, tuples, all these things. What are you doing? While you are finding minimum and maximum, that was a technique. You are using a loop to run through the elements and finding which is the current minimum. If it is greater, you change the accordingly. That was a process to achieve something. So that was a process, and correctly we call them algorithms. Okay, so that is one domain of coding, and the other thing is how you represent the data on which you are working. So that representation can be list or these kind of structures, right? List is a structure, nested list is a structure, all those things are structure. So and more structures you will learn in the upcoming weeks, right? So these are what we call data structures. Fine. Now, as you go along with for learning new data structures, your codes would become more concise but more complex to understand. Okay, so now initially, for if we had, I mean, what did we do in the initial weeks? We had a while loop. We were reading one card, then doing some task, and then putting that card into another table. So we had two tables from which one we were reading and then putting it into another table, and then again iterating on the first table. So that was the way we were working up. As soon as we learn about list, we did not do something like that. We can directly write for each I in L, and that's it. I mean, if we represent all our data from that table into a list, then we can just use a single list. We don't need those table one, table two to take and out. So basically what I mean is, in order to traverse the whole data set, your work is reduced, your code has been decreased, but it is becoming more concise but complex. Sometimes it would become complex. So the best way to understand all this code is at first you just make it modularized. Just see that you can iterate on a specific kind of data structure. So when you are learning list of lists, just see what are the code related to list of lists. Don't go into any particular lecture where a particular algorithm or let's say a particular problem statement is discussed. So like hypothesis testing is there, right? In this week, you would see in the further lectures, there is one thing that we are using the marks to do hypothesis testing, but basically don't go into that initially. Try to see how just you learn about list of lists. Now you see how you can iterate, how you can access each element inside the list of list. As soon as you get comfortable with each of these components, then you go to the problems where you use those components, right? Where you use list of lists to solve some problem, right? So then that would be much easier for you to understand. So that is one way. So if I just summarize it, when you learn a new data structure, then try to just see the code, how to access each element, how to add element, how to delete element from that data structure. Data structure means a list of list, triple, tuple, all those things, right? So you learn that, and once you are comfortable with that, then you go into the usage of those things, where you are in the lectures where those things are used. So that would be a good approach. And one important point is when for answering questions in quiz or in an environment where you are time bounded. So try to have an overview of the whole pseudocode at once, right? Do not see line by line. Many of you actually start reading the pseudocode line by line from the start. Don't do that. Obviously, you need to go line by line and understand that the finite details, but don't do that in the first view of the pseudocode. When you see the pseudocode first time, just see, from a broader perspective, that what are the elements. You see that 2, 3 loops are there, one if statement is there, one condition is there. Don't go into the body of those if statements. Just see what is happening. Try to make out that. Once you understand that, you would see that sometimes in these quiz questions and all, you need not actually go into the details. You can simply find out a lot of things. So like in that quiz question that I discussed, you are checking that one place it was finding maxima, right? And that was finding the maximum between the difference of the year. So if you get that much, already 2, 3 options would be eliminated. So that is how you can deal pseudocode related question in a less time, in time bounded environment. Okay, see the pseudocode from a broader view once and then go into the finer details. Don't just read line by line of the pseudocode in the first view of it. So yeah, and other than that, just for your general practice, see the code of data structure, try to think how I can write the code to access the data structure, and then you go into the algorithms. So you all have learned the week 5, I hope you all have learned. So there were the triple and pair concept. So what ideally you all should do is that, not only by focusing on the practice questions and the content which is there in the lecture, now you have learned about a way to store data in the form of in pairs and triples as a inside a list, right? Try to think of how you can access each element, how you can write the pseudocode to do some, maybe add a new element into the list of list or in the list of tuples, whatever. So once you get familiarized with all that, it should be easier for you to even learn the algorithms. The general usage of those tools. So, yeah.
One more that I was having, like when we are considering a record of a score data set or something, it's easy to understand when we are using like labels of field, like x dot marks or x dot physics marks, etc. But when we are considering the same record or the same data in the list, and we are just having assessing the same values, the same data using the indexes, that is something totally different and not easy to interpret sometimes. What if we are storing a value in a different field, means or on a different index? So a lot of chances of errors are there. So
Yeah, so but if you have to code it up, so initially up to week 4, week 5, we learned about the basic concept of how computations happen. But now you would move slowly towards how you can code it up. So when you go to the concepts of coding it up, right now you are moving from pseudocode to code. In the course, we would only deal with pseudocode, but the thing is the new concepts which are coming that would make you more close to the real code from the pseudocode, I mean, from the current pseudocode which you all are learning. Right, so this list thing, it's directly there in programming languages. You can use this list directly to do stuff.
So means like the thing we were like using like a field or a label, that was just a type of abstraction, but actually the data is stored in
Exactly.
something like a list or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's the thing. Now you said that let's say if I have some X dot author or something you are writing, right? In the initial weeks we did that. Now let's say X is, I mean, I'm just making it up. So let's say X is a card of books. Let's say books is a type data set. Books is a data set. Fine. And in this data set, X is a card, right? Or row or whatever you want to say in a table, right? And in that author is an attribute. So that's how we did. What you did is you had a while loop, you are running on it, doing something, you are reading the card X, read X. Now you are assuming you are reading the card X and it's already there in the table one. Let's say there is some table one while. Okay, and then you are writing some X dot author or X dot whatever dot. But that's not how you can implement it in real code. If you want to implement it in real code, as he was saying, I think I forgot. So whoever one student was saying in the start of the session, what we can do is we can make it in the form of a, let's say, list of anything. So let's say I make it in the form of a list of lists. So when I say list of list, what do I mean? Initially we had a table. In that table we had multiple cards. Each of those cards represented a book. So I make the list. This outer list is equivalent to the table one. Okay, and inside these lists I would have multiple such list dot. Each of these lists are basically each of the card which is there in the table, cards or rows or whatever, table rows or your cards. Fine. Now inside this, let's say the book, right? The book data set had 3 fields. Let's say book name was there, author was there, and let's say price was there, like that. So you used to do X dot author, X dot name, X dot price, right? Here what you can do is, since it is a list of list, now each of this represent each row. A list can have multiple types of value, right? So I can store, let's say, the author first. Okay, then I can store the name, whatever, and then the price. Okay, you can do something like that. Also, you can actually modify it in the form of a triples as well. So you can have triples like author, name, and price, and many such cards are there implemented in that form. Now the difficulty is here you could use a read X from table one and you do the task. But here you cannot do something like that. So if I take this example, what you have to do is you have to write for each.
We have to trot over the table one
Yeah.
and then further there.
So let's say I name it L, since there is a list for in L. Now what is X? X is each of this card. Now inside X I have to traverse, right? Because that is also a list. So initially I was in the outer list and each of them are X, right? And now I have read the first X, which is this one. And inside it also it is a list. So in order to access, let's say, the name, I have to go inside this nested list. So now I would like for each, there is a nested loop, and let's say I call it name. It doesn't matter, you can name it anything. For each NA in X. Why? Because X is itself a list. This is also a list, and this is also a list. Right? X is this list, and L is the whole this thing list. Both of them are type list. So now I write for each NA in X, right? And then I mean, whatever. So NA is what? NA is
All
now
the values of the pen
author
field.
name. Yeah. The first iteration NA would be author, the second iteration NA would be name, the third iteration NA would be price. So if you want to access the name property, so accordingly you can just do it 2 times, right? For each NA in X, if you want to do for all of them, you can do it like that. If you want to do it for the second time, just have a counter and check if X equal to 2, then you in that iteration you do something. All these things can be done. So yeah, so your perspective of writing code changes, but this is what it looks like in real coding. And initially we did as an abstraction, as you rightly said, that we were putting it into tables and reading rows and using a while loop. So that was kind of just to familiarize with you all, I mean, how these things work. But now we are moving towards real life coding, and that's why I introduced the term data structure. Many of you know all this, but for new ones also, this is how you store data. So this list of tuples, all these are how you are representing the data. Initially it was a table, now it is some other form, right? So that's why we call them the structure in which data is represented, and we call them data structures, right? So yeah. So when you come to the PDSL course in the, I mean, after completing your foundation things, actually I am also current instructor at PDSL now. So there you would actually see the details of it, how these things work. So your data structures and algorithm.
So one thing outside of syllabus, if you please guide me. I just need to buy a laptop, and regarding that, I want to ask, can I?
Yeah, okay, fine. And anyway, it is over.
Yeah.
So
I
before
just
that,
want.
let me just announce one more time. After that, you can continue. The thing is, we most probably, I have said, but I'm repeating. Most probably, we would merge the next session and solve with us together. You all can also ask your doubt in the next session as well. No problem with that regarding week 6 content. Or if we plan to have a separate solve with us session, that would be informed to you. But that depends on the availability of slots and all. So we will do that. No problem. Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah. So I was considering purchasing a MacBook Air, but I'm not indecisive about that. Which model should I? Should I go for M1 and or M2? And what RAM configuration should I purchase out?
See, for the course, I mean, at least for the diploma level course, and now even for the most of the degree level courses, you would not need a very heavy machine to work with, because nowadays, even if you work a lot on some machine learning, data science related work, most of it would be done on cloud. Okay, so you don't need to have a very heavy machine with GPUs and all. So those things are not required. Just have a normal machine. I mean, with respect to the course I am telling, if you have separate requirement, you can think about it. But with respect to the course, up to degree level also, you don't need to have a very high-fi machine. A RAM of 8 GB, or if you can have 16 GB RAM, that is very good. But at least 8 GB RAM you should have. And now, I mean, whatever processor you want to take, I mean, the current time, right? i5, i7, i9, whatever, that should be enough. You don't need to have a very something fancy.
Okay, so sir, I was just looking for a laptop that will go for a long run.
So are you a CS? I mean, can you tell me whether your background is CS? Are you
So
planning to
my
pursue?
background is not CS, but I'm switching to AI slowly and steadily. Like
Okay.
I will be enrolling in some of the domain certificates of the NPTEL also, and for programming and data science, I'm here.
Okay, so see, the thing is, now most of the AI or any data science related tasks, if you do it on a local machine, that is fine. But any data intensive tasks, you can do it on the cloud, and that's what is generally done nowadays. So you don't need to think about, I need to have a very good computer in order to do data science, AI, and all those things. It's not that much essential. You can have in the initial days, it's not at all essential. Initial days means even for 3-4 years, I'm saying that's, I think it should be fine, because you can do a lot of things on the cloud. You don't need to have local machine with very high configuration. But obviously 16 GB RAM, if you can use, that should be better. And yeah, normal processors, that's just fine. Only thing is, if someone who is from CS background and he wants to pursue a career in, let's say, towards the systems domain, right? So systems is something like other subjects are there where you are going into the internals of computer. So in those cases, you need to have a laptop which itself has some sitting graphics card, GPU, and all those things. So there you need to have. But since you are moving to data science domain, I don't think you would get into any problem. Just take any decent laptop with 16 GB RAM and let's say i7 or i5 processor. That should be good, I think.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Yeah. Fine. Okay, thank you all. We would inform you about the new time, or if we have a new session, a separate session for Solvits, or else we would merge the sessions together next day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.